I was, so in order to deal with any problem that comes in your life, and this is what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, the warrior, you have a problem, you're scared to confront it, you're scared to face it, but you have to. You're a warrior, but how to face it? The whole Gita is how to face all the problems that come to our lives, into our lives, all the wars, all the battles. So he says, the first thing you have to understand is who you truly are. Who are you truly? You're not this body, you're not this mind, you're immortal. The body dies. Your soul, your spirit, remember that. When you embark on anything, keep that as your basis, because that's the truth. That is the truth. And why do human beings keep forgetting the truth? So the first point he gives him is that. Second, is if a war comes to you, a righteous war or righteous challenge, you know, in all our lives, we have challenges with relationships, with family, with work. But if you are really unjustly treated, you have a right to protect yourself. You try to make peace as long as you can and give the person 1,000 chances. But even after that, if they don't want to make peace, then you have to stand up for that which is right. So the second thing one has to do is to be brave. To know your human personality and be brave to confront the situation. Be courageous, he says, because Arjuna doesn't want to fight the war. So he's telling him, be brave. He said, do you know, if you don't do your duty, you're a warrior, you're supposed to protect your nation. People will make shame of you. They will dishonor you because they expect you to protect them. And if you don't protect them, you'll be laughed at. Do you really want that? And then he carries on to say, if you really understand who you are, you will know that no harm can come to you. If you are killed in battle, you'll go to heaven. If you are not killed in battle and you win battle here, you'll be victorious on earth. So what is your problem? What are you frightened of? What do you fear? And then he carries on to say, how do you become balanced? Seeing the same in pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat in battle, just for the sake of the battle, then you will become sinless. What does that mean? Just for the sake of the battle. You see, what happens to us when challenges come to our lives, when wars come to our life? We have a lot of emotional excuses. I can't confront this because maybe I hurt this one, and then you're inside burning up and angry all the time. But I can't, because I don't want to do. We keep making these excuses. So he's saying to him, don't you understand? You know, pleasure and pain are part of life. Loss and gain are part of life. It's just like in a coin. With a coin, you have heads and tails. You need the two sides to have a coin. So just like that, life, whether you like it or not, has pleasure, has pain, has loss, has gain. Now, when you go into battle, knowing that you are going into battle not because you want to, but it's just part of your duty. That's what you've been told to do. Because you were made the warrior. It's just like if you're made a parent, if you're made a mother, or you're made a father, it's your duty to look after the children. You may not like it, you might say, oh, I'm really tired after work and get grumpy, but you still have to do it. Now, what makes the job unpleasant? When you start to complain, you say, I'm really tired, and get all emotional, then the child will argue, the parents will argue, and it'll be an emotional battle for the rest of your life. But if you look at it, you know, this is part of parenthood. Sacrifice, you work hard, but guess what? Because the goal is to see that new life, that new soul that has been brought onto earth become the best they can. And you look at it so as it is. Because you're responsible responsible for the soul. Did anybody ask you to bring the soul on earth? You decided. Two people had a lot of fun, brought a baby, and now you have a responsibility. And you have to fulfill that responsibility. But if you're too emotional, then the child will be disturbed, you will be disturbed. Look at it as a, this is my duty, this is my job. Then you will become sinless, he says. Why? Because if you watch with children, they will manipulate you if you allow them. And they will try every trick in the book. They'll make a parent feel guilty and wrong. I don't know if you know this, but Mommy, you said this and that, you said, and I should do this because all my friends are doing it. And if you get emotional and start comparing yourself to other parents, you lose your child because they'll get you around your finger. No. Running around in the streets is not safe for you. I'm sorry. At 8:30, you need to come home. Because it's just the way it is. The child will argue and fight. But when you know that this is just part of bringing up children, this is just the way it is, you won't get emotional, you won't get upset if your child gets angry at you and doesn't talk to you for 2 or 3 days, because you accept. That's the reaction of a child, and this is your job. Do you see? And it would save a lot of wars in the house, and the child will learn discipline in a very nice way, because that child will learn that they can't wrap you around their finger. So it is with life. Life is the same way with us. When we know that when sorrow comes to us, or pain comes to us, or battles come to us, and it's natural because it comes to everyone, everyone has battles, and then you don't get too overexcited, or you don't get too depressed, then you can, with equanimity of mind, with a balanced mind, you can just approach it very logically, with a lot of love, and your thinking will be, okay, this has come to me, let me find a solution. And then it's easy because the mind is clear. It doesn't have all this emotional debris that sticks there that doesn't allow you to make a sensible decision. And that's what he's saying here. If you just understand, when you understand all these things, then whether you do a right action or wrong action, according to the world, it doesn't really matter. Because you are coming from a very balanced place. And you've maintained your peace. It's just, for example, life is like a film, movie. A director will choose all the people to play the parts for that movie. And they have good parts and they have bad parts. Sometimes the actor or the actress that's playing the villain is really the better person in life. And the person that's playing a heroine is really the worst person in life. They're divas, we don't know. But the movie is the movie. They just have to make the movie and play their part. If the actress who's given the job of the villain says, I don't want to act because I don't want to be a villain, she'll be out of a job. She doesn't want to be the villain, but too bad, that's what you're good for. You're going to be the villain. She'll be out of a job. Oh, why can't I get the right job? You did get the right job. You just refuse to take it. And life is like that. It's like a movie. We've been given a certain job. And to recognize the job you've been given is the trick. To know who you are and what you are is the trick to living a beautiful life. Because when you know exactly what you're good at, it makes your life very easy. You do it. You don't fuss. You don't, go the wrong way. And of course, whenever you follow your dream or your path or your flow, there's a lot of fear. And one of the biggest fears that we feel is, what if I'm a failure? What if I don't make enough money? And that fear will stop you from getting where you need to go. Or laziness. Many people, when they fear, they cripple up. Have you seen? They don't do anything. They have a job to do. They want to do it. But because they have so much fear of not being successful, they stay where they are. They stay stuck. Because this is comfort. And if you stay where you are, you don't move on in life. You have to battle with yourself. This is the inner battle that we fight with ourselves on a daily basis. If I really want to go do this, I have to come out of my box. And it's going to be difficult. I'm going to find it really difficult. But when you do it, you'll be tested initially. But after a few weeks and a few months, you'll find it easy. Somebody actually just phoned me today. It was really interesting, and from abroad. And she said to me she'd been doing this job for a few years. She learned what she had from it. But the last year she'd been suffering from depression, panic attacks, which is so not her nature. She's very spiritual, a lot of knowledge, wonderful human being. But of course, it was time to leave that job that she had for 3 years. She's frightened to let go because of the money, because of the mortgage, but she was getting sick. And what happened? She would get sick leave. She wouldn't be going to the job as much as she wanted. So she finally decided that she was messing everybody around, had the courage to tell her husband, I know this is going to put us in a little bit of difficulty, but I can't do it anymore. She stopped. She said she was really scared, but she had to do it. Because anyway, she wasn't doing the other job well. Anyway, she called me today to tell me she's thrilled. She said, Nalanie, I don't know where it's come from, but suddenly everybody's asking me for private yoga classes. So, in the end, I can do supply work at the work I was doing 3 times a week, and I can do my classes, but I don't know where all these people are coming from. And I'm so happy. And panic attacks have gone and everything is gone. She said the first 2 months were scary because I kept on saying, but I said, no, I have to follow this. I have to follow this. And it was just so nice to hear that. She's been struggling for 1 year. And I said, yeah. She said, every time I worry, I go, I must have faith, and then I get a client. It's incredible how the magic works, isn't it? It made me very happy to hear that, of course. And the lightness in her voice and the joy in her voice. It was so nice to hear that. Because after 1 year of just struggling and struggling, so the job was good for 2 years. It was very good. But it was just time. You know, sometimes you get that feeling, it's time to move on. It's time to leave, but you're scared to leave. And then you battle with yourself. But understand, life is full of these ups and downs. Then you won't feel so guilty about battling with yourself. You don't get so emotional about battling with yourself. So he says to, now, Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, his student, and for those who don't know, Lord Krishna is the representation of a higher self, or the God within, or the God without, whatever you want to call it, incarnation of God, talking to us, you know? And this is what Lord Krishna is. Isn't it interesting? Krishna, Christ. The background stories are very similar, by the way. It's interesting to watch it, to read it. He goes to Arjuna and says, you have been given the ideal of self-knowledge. Now hear the practical wisdom of yoga, by which, Arjuna, you can break through all the bonds of karma. Now he says, I've given you philosophy. Now I've told you, I've explained to you who you are, who the self is. You are the highest self in you. When you die, you're a spirit and you're the self. But it's not good enough just knowing this knowledge. Because you can read as many books as you want, but if you don't practice, then how are you going to perform the knowledge that you know? And it's like a cookbook. You can read 1,000 cookbooks and recipes, but if you don't do the actual cooking, you'll never be a good cook. And so many people say, oh, I know this, but when they actually cook, they get very nervous, they get very frightened. So here's the same thing. So you can read as many spiritual books as you want. You can study all the religions you want. But it's no avail unless you practice it. Practice it in your life. So now that I've given you the highest knowledge, which is who you are, now let's be practical, Arjuna. By being practical, you burn away your karmas. What does that mean? For example, everything we do, as we sow, we reap, says the Bible. We say the law of karma, cause and effect. Many of our actions, most of our actions, 99% of our actions are based on cause and effect. Here, when one becomes develops the balance of the mind, it's like you're very, very neutral. You come from a neutral place. You're not meaning to harm anyone or hurt anyone or cause pain. That is not your intention. Your intention is you've been given a job and you got to do it to the best of your ability. Some people may be jealous, some people may be angry, some people may love you. Isn't that true of life anyway? Right? But if you just do the job you have to do with very clear mind and perfect position, then, of course, at the end of the day, the director is going to say, well done, here's your millions, we've got a hit on our hands. Right? But if you don't do the best you do and you become emotional and get into trouble, that director may not ask you to play such a good part next time. You might get another part that is not so good in another life. Do you see? Because you can't deal with a difficult part. There's a story I love that is a Sanskrit story that maybe can make it more understandable. There's this marble maker, and he always makes all these statues for temples. So one day he takes a huge piece of marble and then he cuts it into half. With one piece he's going to make the statue, and with the other piece he's going to make the base. So he takes the piece of marble and he starts chiseling on it, and of course it's painful. And the marble, the first piece goes, oh my God, it's too painful, it's too painful. And it doesn't give way, it doesn't, allow the marble worker to chisel. So he goes, I don't think I can use this piece of marble. So he pushes the marble away. He goes to the second piece of marble. Let me try you. So he starts chiseling, and this marble is just melting in front of his hands, and he goes, oh, this is a nice piece of marble. And the marble is saying, oh, this is really painful. This really hurts, but I trust the sculptor. He knows what he's doing. And I'm sure when he finishes the job, it's going to be beautiful, because he's I can hear that he's one of the best sculptors. So of course, when he finishes with this piece, it's a beautiful female goddess. So he takes the other piece, which is not easy to mold and cut and chisel, and makes it into the platform of the base. Takes it to the temple grounds and puts it there. So of course, when people come to the temple grounds, especially in India, they always garland these statues with flowers. It's what all Indians do. We always garland the gods and goddesses with flowers. So people start to come and garland the gods and goddesses. This goddess, and the marble below says, what's going on here? Everybody is putting flowers and garlands on you, and everybody is stepping on me. Why is this happening? We're both marble. And the marble that's been cut into the goddess says, yeah, when our director or when our sculptor was working on us, I hurt too. But I knew that something good was going to happen. And I accepted, and I molded, and I changed. And look, now I'm being garlanded. But you refused to listen. You complained the whole time. So I guess now you'll be stepped on. And if you look at your life, when you complain a lot, and you don't do anything about it, if you don't take any action, just complain, you will be stepped on a lot. People will tell you always complaining, and oh, don't go to this person, they're always complaining, and you'll be stepped on. You won't have respect, honor will not come to you, and you won't achieve anything while you're complaining. Watch that in your life, it's really interesting. But when you, okay, this has happened to me, it's harsh, it's horrible, but I accept, and I'm going to find a solution. Respect will come to you, honor will come to you, and people will come to you for advice. Is it not true? Because you're walking the talk. So it's the same thing, you see? Human beings haven't changed. Honor is very important. And when people see you can take bad times, then they gain strength from that themselves, and they become strong. You can do it, I can do it. But if you complain, they just don't want to know you. So watch yourself when you say nobody wants to be around you. Am I complaining too much? Am I too grumpy? Am I too bad-tempered? Or what? Don't blame them. Ask yourself, what is it that you are doing that people don't want to see you? I think that's a really nice exercise. Because then you learn to hear your mind think. You learn to hear what you are thinking. What's coming from you, rather than thinking it's somebody else's fault. You're trying to guess what somebody else is thinking. You can guess as much as you want, but you will never be accurate. You can't, unless you're a great yogi, you cannot step into somebody else's mind. But what you can do so easily is step into your own mind and watch your thoughts and think and change them. Wow, that's our magic. That's the magical tool we've been given. Oh, I'm really complaining today. Okay, I need to stop it, otherwise I'm going to get all the way down by the end of the day. I'm not going to like today. And some days I'm really complaining. Yes, I deserve to. Let me complain. But you're okay with it because you're not. It doesn't pull you. It doesn't destroy you because you understand it, and you laugh at it. You find it quite funny. Sometimes the body needs to release it, but because you find it funny that you're complaining, you can let it go easily. But if you get, oh, I'm complaining, I'm a really horrible person, then you get worse and worse and worse. See, you learn to manipulate your mind as if it's your plaything. You become the director, the self that watches. And this is what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna. You become the director of your mind and you watch your actions. And it's not wrong or right, it's how you deal with them. So you're complaining today, no big deal. Does it affect you? Is it going to make you so emotional? No, just watch it and you let it go. You don't stay with it long because you know it's poison to your body. So because you have the knowledge, you burn your karma. So you complain to yourself or to a few people and then you laugh and you finish. No karma, no cause, no effect. Do you see? No cause, no effect. It's a little bit of a complaint, you know, you laugh, no big deal, no effect on the universe. It's bringing it out, getting rid of it, and it's gone. And you don't hurt anybody, and you don't, most of all, you don't hurt yourself. You don't waste your life, which is so precious. You say, okay, now that I've done this nonsense, let me do something useful. And then you want to do something useful. And that's the wonderful tool about yoga. And this is what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna. Practical knowledge. Do it practically. Use it in your life. Just knowing is not good enough. And that is what this sutra is saying. In these practices, no effort made is lost. In these practices, no effort made is lost, nor are there any adverse effects. That means you can practice all these things and your effort will never be gone to waste. Just one day in your life, for example, if you are strong and you follow your goodness and you follow your righteousness and you follow what is loving and kind and caring, how will that day turn out? Brilliant. The effort is never lost. Everybody you touch that day will be rewarded, and yourself too along with it. Because that day you feel perfect harmony, you're in equilibrium, and you almost feel lighter than the whole world. I don't know if you felt that, but it's a wonderful feeling. So no effort you make is lost. And the memory of that effort, all the hard work you do to develop yourself, the memory of it and the results of it, you will always remember. It's like a seed inside yourself. So when you want to go wrong, when you're tempted by the earth or materialism to go to the wrong path, that memory of how you felt will still be in you. So it will never be lost. So don't worry about, oh, I'm working so hard on my meditation. What's the point? I'm not getting anywhere. You are getting somewhere. Do you know the story of Tina Turner's life, right? Have you read her story? It's amazing. It's amazing. She was married to Ike, who beat her for many, many years. She lost all her confidence. He used to hit her, smack her around. She never had the courage to leave him. So anyway, many, many years later, she met a friend, and she just couldn't get out of that relationship. It was like an addiction. And she met this friend who said, you know, you need to get strong. You need to get strong. You know what's helped me? And she was a Buddhist, and she said, I do Buddhist meditation. So she taught Tina Turner to meditate with a mantra. That's about it. And Tina Turner started to meditate every day. And a few months later, she was able to throw eye count, perhaps. And then a few months after that, Tina Turner returned with her debut, I think it was Private Dancer. Yeah. And she found herself, just by getting that inner strength, she was able to say, I won't take it anymore. And then she had a second career at the age of 50-something, wasn't it? Yeah? You good with music, would you remember? It was a 52? In her 40s, still in her 40s. So, and one of her statements is, I read somewhere was, what did she say? She said, I'm actually a nun in a miniskirt. I thought that was so cool. I thought that was so beautiful, you know, because there's so many beautiful souls around that people just don't know how wonderful they are, and just because they sing, they're not realized. We don't know that. We don't know who's realized or not. It's the way they live that makes them realized. And she was born to be a singer. She wasn't born to do this, do you see, or be a yoga teacher. Her gift was in her voice, and she failed herself when she let Ike take over, because he was jealous, and take over and put her down and make her feel like she failed herself. But when she went into battle, she passed the test and she became incredible. So I read her book. It's really Tina. I think there's a movie out as well. Have you seen it? Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? But I read the book many, many years ago. When I was first started yoga, I started to read biographies of people who went through very bad times and how they got out of them. Or how did people become great? I wanted to know. You know, then we read about Thomas Edison, you know, who developed the light bulb. And when he'd been working on hundreds and millions of experiments, and when one day his whole lab burnt down and his house broke down and his wife and his children, all his work gone. And he said, now at least I can start again. All that I don't need is gone. I can start again. And it's quite amazing. And you know how these people, how they do it again and again and again, because they have this energy, this knowledge of this power that is given to us when we have so much faith in whatever it is. You know, some people call it God, some people call it spirit. For them, it's some people, even in their work, in their life, there is a connection. Who are we to judge? I don't know anything. We cannot judge. We can just watch by the lives that people lead. And then when we were in India, when we did the 400 eye operations for poor people, we went to India, money that we all collected here and everywhere I speak. And we met Dr. Ramana. Well, Les, you were there too in India. You know, him and his wife, they started off as two doctors. And they saw all the suffering in India. And they both decided, let's specialize where we can make a difference. Let us specialize in our medicine. So they saw so many millions and billions of people were blind in India. It's very common in India. And so what they did is, they started, sorry, no problem, thank you.
Just pull the glass down, sorry, it's just the mic down. Thank you, just the microphone's open, sorry. That's perfect, thank you.
Is that better?
Yes,
okay, thank you. So, where was it? Yeah, we went to India. And we went to his hospital, and he was telling us this. They started. So they both bought a little house, and they started picking people from the villages and doing eye operations for very low costs. And then what happened was, other doctors saw their work, other people saw their work, and started to sponsor them, then pay for them. And then the first hospital, then the second hospital, then the third hospital. The hospital we went to was the flagship in Coimbatore. Every day they do 200 free operations. State-of-the-art equipment. I said, if I need my eyes done, I'm not going to Europe. I'm coming to you. There were students from Europe and America going there to study. Incredible. And we had such a nice feeling, because the 100 poor people that we were sponsoring, 200, the 100 on that day, we were allowed to give them food, because they bring them in. What they do is have vans. They take them to the vans to the villages, and they get all these people that have no understanding of doctors or money, that they even think about their eyes. So they get all these old people, very young children, and they give them sight. And then you see them, we saw them, they were so happy. They came and hugged us in the end, and you know, and what were we paying? $22 US per operation, just to cover the cost. It's nothing. And then I said, this man and his wife, what they have done, now they've got Rotary behind them, they've got international communities behind them, and not only that, they get people who can't get jobs from the villages, women, men, to come there for 2 years, trained so they can work in the hospitals. And we were walking through these packed hospitals, packed, non-stop. It's like, you know, there are 4 or 5 people go through the process at one time. And none of the staff stressed. Everybody's smiling, everybody laughing. And we say, oh my God, you go to a hospital here in Europe, you know, sign the paper, do this. They make you feel guilty about being ill. And here, doing 200 free operations a day, and everybody's smiling and laughing and learning and loving. And they have another wing, which is for the wealthy, and the wealthy pay the operations right next door. The wealthy know, so they're very happy to pay for the operations because it knows it funds the hospital. Wow! 2 people following a mission with no fear and what they can produce. And there are now hospitals all over India. But it goes to show that when you're just focused on what is your gift, and then specialize. We're talking about Tina Turner, that was her gift, her voice. Specialize, be strong in it, struggle, but do it. And you'll get there. Don't be fearful. So here it says, even a little practice of this Dharma protects one from great fear. Even a little practice. And how often I've seen so many of you and all the people I've taught for years, when they really practice with their heart, when they really sit and learn about themselves and want to better their lives, I have seen a lot of their fear starts to dwindle away. A lot of it starts to dwindle away. Slowly in time, they get more and more brave, more and more brave. You know, can I use you? You know, Shanti was always, many, many years ago, people pleaser, please everybody, please everybody. And I was so happy. A few months ago, we had a committee meeting in Gibraltar. And I was saying something, and of course I was giving a very strong point of view. And normally, everybody keeps quiet. For once, she stood up and said, and somebody said, I'm giving this argument and that, and you know, this is absolutely true. And she stood up for me. I go, oh my God, not because it's right or wrong, but because she had the power of her conviction, rather than just say yes, 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 be in everybody's good books. She really felt strongly about what I was saying. And I was shocked, and everybody in the room was shocked, because she spoke up when she never does. Everybody went, I won the battle, with a little help from my friend. You know the song, get by with a little help from my friends. And you know, but the thing, to watch that strength, and then she actually said, I'm fearless. Very good. I am going to tell you exactly what I think now. And I thought, even better. And I said, why are you fearless? Well, she's not doing anything wrong by saying what she feels. It's not hurting anyone. Why do we fear it? Interesting, huh? So I was really, really very proud of her. And this is what happens, even with a little practice. A lot of your fear, inbuilt fears from childhood, after a while start to disappear. And that's really nice. And I asked afterwards in my office alone, said, how do you feel? She said, wonderful, Nalanie. I feel wonderful. I feel free. Who was tying her up in knots? Herself. And she could see it. And you know, that was really, for me, such a nice thing to see. Because you see, these scriptures do work. You put into practice, and I know this girl meditates every day and is a great karma yogi and does so much good. You put into practice, the gods will reward you. And I've seen it over and over, and it's wonderful to see. So this is why my joy in teaching this knowledge, because it does work, but you have to practice. I practice. Do you practice? That's the question you have to ask. And if you do practice, you can see the results in the people who practice. The results are there. You know, Turtu is another one that we watch with awe. I watch her with awe because she found her daughter 5 years ago dead in a pool. I mean, that's awful for a mother. Traumatic. And look at her today, helping old people how to die, teaching them how to live and die. It's quite something to watch. So, and the fear, all that anguish is like gone. You don't see it in her face. So even a little practice. But of course she does a lot. Every morning she goes on the beach at 6 o'clock and meditates for 1 hour.
2 hours.
So she's getting the benefits of her own work. Do you see? It's practical. She's doing it. She's getting it. We can see it. It's obvious. So even a little practice is good for you. So may it encourage you. How am I doing for time? Because I want to finish on time today. I'm good. It's 5 to 7. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I was very curious about following your path and the fear of doing that. In my experience, when people begin to follow their path and they continue to follow their path, they don't realise how enriched their lives are. It's only when they go off their path that the fear starts to
take
have
over.
the courage to go back to their path, and that's where the challenge is. And they really don't realise that they're on the right path until they get off it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got it. Absolutely that. Absolutely. And they go off it and then they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The fear takes over.
Yes, it really does.
It takes over. Why? Because people say, oh, what's you're doing something strange or you're doing this. But then if you can keep in mind the truth is we're all going to die one day. And that's the truth. This is the knowledge he's giving you. We're more than what we see, the body. We're spirit, you know. Spirit will continue. And then that fear of not wanting to follow your path. Oh my God, my life is very short. I only have a short amount of time. I better follow my path. Otherwise, the greater fear will be to die without doing it. And that's what drove me on this path. The greatest fear was to die without following my path. Because I remember, I'm so glad you brought that up. That is really a good point. Because when I first started on this path, of course my husband was very worried, he's going to turn weird on me and whatnot, you know. I didn't, thank God. I just turned spiritual on him. Which at the end of his days, when he passed, he was very grateful for the knowledge because he died beautifully. But it was a challenge many years for me, which was a good challenge because it showed how much I loved him unconditionally. It was a good practice for me to be able to, in the face of why you're doing this, to be strong. It was such a good practice for me. He was my best teacher. But anyway, the early days, I remember I started to meditate. And I met my master in London for a few days because my kids were in school there, so I used to visit often. And he goes, Nalanie, why don't you come to the ashram? It's a place he had built in America, and learn, take some classes. And I go, oh no, I can't. I mean, I got my husband and my children. He goes, they're in boarding school, you can come when they're there. No, I need to be there. I work with my husband in the shop. I manage the shop. I do this. I got this class. I got that class. I'm so busy. And he just stopped. And he looked at me. And he said, how many waves rush to the shore? odd question. And I say, countless, it never stops. He says, exactly. Exactly. Today is your husband, it's the shop, then the children, then the graduation, then it will be the marriage, and then it will be the grandchildren, and then it will be this, and then when will you come? And I thought, I panicked. I thought, that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to let my life go. And the most important thing that my soul is talking to me, I'm going to leave behind. I must be mad. I booked myself as soon as I got home for the next course, and I went, and I was scared. It's the first time I traveled alone to a strange place and far away and missed my flight. And I was alone. I was with my family and then with my, with my husband. He always was such protection. So it wasn't only just going for the course, it was learning to be alone to start. Best lesson I had. Scared of bugs. I was scared of everything in those days. Bugs, now I talk to them and save their lives. I have bug catchers. The vacuums out and lets them out so they don't get hurt. I see a bug and scream. I was a spoiled girl from a very wealthy family in Hong Kong, always looked after. So that was such a good lesson for me to learn about the real world. And I had to do it. I had to face those fears. But that's exactly the courage and face the fears rather than making the fears too big for you. And I'm so grateful because look at my life, how blessed it is now. I would not have had this blessing. My children would have grown up. And as it is, my son is married, he lives in Hong Kong, he's a beautiful wife, but far away. My daughter has 3 children, I see her very often. But still, she has her family. So what would I have done? I would have been like, I done all this for my children, sacrificed all this, and look, they're gone. And hold on to them. Do you see how the human mind works? But instead, let them live their lives the way I lived it, to find my goals. Let them find their dreams. Let them find out who they are and what they are and live in this world to the best of their ability. Not mine. This is not their path. What is their path? Let them find it. And I always tell them that. And it's interesting. Because I could find my path, I can let them find their path. And it just, all this just passes on to more people and more people. So, good point. Thank you. So here it says, the next sloka, 42 in chapter 2. In flowery discourses, the unwise focus on the letter of scripture and say there is nothing else. In flowery discourses, the unwise focus on the letter of the scripture and say there is nothing else. In other words, he's saying, we have scriptures, and sometimes people are talking about scriptures. Very flowery language, very pretty language, and they're talking about scriptures. But then they focus on the letter of the scripture, meaning they haven't understood it. They just talk about what is in the book, but they haven't lived it. They haven't understood it. They talk about it, but they haven't understood it. And so many times we've seen this in so many religions, and this is why so many people in the world today running away from religions. Because they're talking about goodness and then say you're doomed to hell. It's so confusing for the person listening to it. You're talking about being good and compassionate and understanding. Next moment you're being told, if you do this, you're doomed. You're going to end up in hell. Hellfire. You're going to be burnt because you want to find yourself not allowed to do that. So there's so much confusion in that because they're stuck to the letter. For example, many people say Christ is the only way. But Christ said, follow me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Krishna says the same. Follow me. This is the truth. So if you look at they all say the same thing. Because when you are talking, what will you say to the person? If you follow me and do this, you will find the right way. So they stuck to the letter, they wrote it down. Oh, Christ is the only way. Krishna is the only way. This one is the only one. They never said that. Do you see how it's all misinterpreted? And this is where they haven't realized that the truth is one and parts are many. The energy belongs to everyone. One earth, many, many different cultures, but one earth. Same space. Many people, many things, many objects occupying one space. Not my space and your space. It belongs to everyone. You know? So, this is what he's saying. In Florida, so many times we listen to all these things and our minds can become a little trapped. You know, we think, oh my God, I've done something wrong because I've started to do this, and the religion says you can't do this or you're doomed to hell. The fear comes in. But it's all talk. You have to live it to know what is the truth and what is not the truth. You have to live it to know. With minds full of desires and heaven as their highest goal, they speak mostly of rites and rituals which they believe will bring pleasure and power. And what he's saying here is, these people talk a lot. And why are they talking? Because they think there's just heaven is the highest goal. It's much more than heaven. It's much more than that. In fact, heaven and hell are on earth. They speak mostly of rites and rituals, which they believe will bring them pleasure and power. And this is what happens in many, many traditions. Religion takes over, and they say, if you don't do this ritual, there's bad luck. How many people I've met that are superstitious? Oh, if we don't do this prayer, God is going to punish us. If we don't do 10 Hail Marys today, this is going to happen. If we don't do this puja, oh my God, the world's going to fall down. So it's all based on fear and not love. Rites and rituals are beautiful when they're done in love and harmony. They please the gods. They please us. They awaken the spirit in us. But when they're done, because if you do this prayer, you will get so much money. How many people pray and do prayers or go to church to get something in return? They want something in return. They are praying because either they want pleasure, fame, power. Those are the things they want. And that's their highest goal. But be careful. One day you can be up and the next day you can be down. Ultimately, we all die. One day you can be famous and have millions, and the next day nobody knows you. We've seen it happen over and over again. So, what's the point of making that your goal? Don't make that the goal. That will happen anyway, but don't make it the goal. Those deeply attached to pleasures and powers are not able to fix their minds one-pointed in meditation and enjoy samadhi. Those who are looking for pleasures, always wanting, I want pleasure, and power, will never be able to have a steady mind. They can't. So every time they sit down, they want, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want this pleasure, I want this, I want this. The mind cannot be steady. There's too much desire. Oh, today they ignored me. How dare they ignore me? Don't you know? Didn't they know who I am? And the mind gets so disturbed because what are they seeking? Pleasure, power. And I know because I've been to some speakers, and and if they don't do the right things, they get very angry and irritated at you, and they start screaming at you. I've been to many talks like that. So I said, forget it, I only trust my master, finish. I found one that's so loving. Just serving for the sake of serving. I love that because it makes it very simple. The knowledge you get, there's nothing they want in return. It makes it very, very simple. Easy to live with, So, that's what it's saying. Difficult to enjoy the peace. The Vedas discuss the three gunas. The Vedas are the holy scriptures, right? The very ancient scriptures. And they discuss the three gunas. The gunas are what moves us on this earth. In our body we have an atom. An atom is based on electrons, protons, and neutrons, right? So it's life. Life is that way. All our energies, everything, weather, everything in nature, everything, including ourselves, are governed by three forces that we call the gunas. Rajas, which is a lot of activity, and lots of people are in Rajas, you do work to get something in return, or you do things to get something in return. And then there is Tamas, which is inertia, dullness, laziness. And then there is Sattva, a state of peace and tranquility. All three are states that we can achieve in this world. When we meditate, we try to go more into Sattva, to be peaceful while we are working. We still do our work, but we do it in peace. That's what we try to achieve, more sattvic state. But everything in nature runs around these three states. Like today would be a very peaceful day, quiet and peaceful, sattva. But there's still activity, the waves are still moving, everything is moving. When you get a really dull and gray day, nothing is moving, and the air is still like a locked up, and if nobody wants to move, it's tamasic. It's actually the worst state to be in. And then when you're in Rajas, you're too much activity, and then maybe you go, I want this, and when you don't get what you want, you get upset, you get in a bad mood. That's Rajas. None of them are bad. They're just the way it is. What you do is in yoga, you learn how to deal with these states and how to use them to the best of your ability. That's all. But all nature is in these three states. And then you know, okay, today my nature is very lazy. I'm very tamasic. That's why nothing is working in my life. So what do? You start to do more rajas. Doesn't matter if you want something in return, just start doing it. Because action is better than inaction. And then, when you're a lot in rajas, you will learn very quickly that by wanting something in return, you'll be disappointed over and over and over again. And then finally, you will come to a state in life where you'll say, you know what? Forget all of this. I want peace. Just let me do my work and have peace. Don't bother me. I'm going to do my work properly. And I'm going to attain peace. But all nature is like this. Arjuna, transcend the three gunas and you will be free of the pairs of opposites. Ever balanced, free of wanting to get or keep anything, and centered in your true self. So he's saying, learn to transcend all these moods. They're there, transcend them. Then you will feel ever balanced and ever free. And you'll be very, very well established in knowing who you really are. The only way you can transcend the energies of the earth is to look at them as if you're looking from the outside. As Lord Jesus said, be in the world, but know you are not of this world. So be in the world, watch it. Don't get caught. My father would say, don't be caught in the spider's web. Weave your web, but don't get caught in it. And that's absolutely, don't get caught in the web. Weave it, make a beautiful pattern, because you have to weave. You have to do something on earth. You can't just sit still and do nothing. So weave it, but don't get caught in it, all right? So, and you'll be ever balanced. You'll be balanced and you'll be happy. As for you, no, and then he goes on to say, I think I'll finish with these two and then we'll finish with a short meditation. For those already enlightened, the scriptures are as useful as a water reservoir during a flood. Now, in a flood, do you need water reservoirs? You don't. So, you don't need scriptures. Well, you don't need any of. Once you're enlightened, you don't need to go to courses and classes or anything. You don't need to. So, many times I see people are getting very enlightened. They're becoming very light. Especially in this world today. People will come and tell them and say, oh, but you should take this course. I say, no, I don't feel I need it. I'm so happy in my life. I've really found my peace. No, but you should do it. Don't you know? You're getting too proud. You're getting too this. And then they fall into the fear trap. Oh, I better take the course. So they go take the course, and whatever peace they had gained, many have come back with all the peace lost. I'm not smart enough. This person's better than me. I said, before you went on the course, you were giving classes and you were peaceful. Now you go on the course, You come back disturbed. What's happened? I'm not good enough. You will always have people that are better than you. And you will always people who are not as good as you. Just be happy you're average. If you really want to go on the course, great, do it. But don't do it just because people are telling you when you feel so peaceful and allow somebody to disturb your peace. Now that's what a lot of people allow. Say, oh, I shouldn't have listened to her, I shouldn't have listened to her. Don't blame them, you listened. You knew what you wanted. You knew, but you didn't have the faith in your own knowledge. You didn't have the faith and courage to say, no, I'm happy. Why should I disturb myself? You go, enjoy, have fun. It is your dharma. You want it, you need to search. I have found. And then you can really get strong in your practices. Now you know you have all the material. What do? Find yourself. Work on that. That's the best course in life. Because that's the only thing you have when you're on your deathbed is you and your God and yourself. Everybody can love you and be around you, but your pain is yours. Your separation from body to soul is yours. Nobody can do it for you. So better learn to do it while you're alive all the time. Get strong. You know, I always say, and all the scriptures say, in order to follow your soul and your spirit and your mission, you have to be very, very brave. Sometimes, many times I scold my students when they're not brave. Because if you are not brave, how can you take this path? You cannot. It's very hard. Because you're always going against the grain, the 100 negative thoughts with the 5 good thoughts. So you have to be brave to stand up for who you are and what you believe in.
I think you're in doubt if you go to all these courses. You know, if you have no doubt, then you don't, doesn't matter what anybody says, because you know you don't doubt what you learn.
Yes.
I mean, that million books I've read, I don't read any anymore. Any book I read, it goes back to the sutras, so I stick with one book.
Wonderful. Steady
Yes,
practice.
because it all comes back to it.
All says the same
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
You can read to have fun now. That's what I do. I read a lot because I love to find out what's going in the world. Yeah. And for sometimes I read because I know if I don't, maybe I get a person that needs that book. You know? So I go, oh my God, if I tell them to read the Gita, they cannot understand it. It's way too over their top. So maybe if I recommend Louise Hay, because I've read it, I can recommend it. Oh, you can heal your life. That's a brilliant book. Buy it. I know by reading that book, they will learn. But by reading the Gita, they cannot. You see, this is the good thing to learn. So you learn to serve others, because you know it might be useful for them. But you will be also taught which book to read or what to read. Because when you have that strong mind, the ones that you are supposed to read will even come into your hands. They'll come into your hands. Or you'll hear about it in radio and you'll say, I need to get it. You go to a bookshop and they'll talk to you. You know, I remember many, many years ago, I saw this book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yes.
Yes, you know it, Susan Jeffers. I picked it up, read it, put it away. The amount of people that needed that book and benefited from that book. I'm so glad I read it. Get that book. Oh, Nalanie, it's a brilliant book. Because psychologically they haven't dealt with their fear. If they can't deal with physical fear in their daily life, how are they going to go on a spiritual path? Too hard. It's very hard. So that's why it's important to deal with your own fears first. It's a brilliant book, by the way, if you haven't read it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. So yeah, if you have the knowledge, forget it. Reading scriptures, throw them away, you don't need them. It's like having overfilling yourself and you don't need it. So I love this. I think it's really very pretty, you know. As for you, this is the last one. Do the work that comes to you, but don't look for the results. Don't be motivated by the fruits of your actions, nor become attached to inaction. Whatever work comes to you, do it. Just do it. If somebody gives you a job to do, and your focus is, what if I don't do it well? Or what if I do it like this? And what will I get for it? And how much will this happen? And da 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 da. What will happen? You will have no peace. Because while you're looking for something in return, you will have no peace. When you do a job, and you're just focused on the job, just being focused on the job, you will get the result. You know, I mean, I'll bring up Hannah now. I remember when I was first interviewed by her, I was impressed. You know why? She didn't need to ask me tell me what question she was going to ask me. Most people like call you 10 times and what to do. Just come and we'll do it. I love it because I have no time to prepare. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to live my life. I would go there and she just flows with the questions. And when I finished, and then she gets what she needs for that program. So I said to her, "How do you do it?" She said, "I just focus." I asked her in a coffee shop afterwards, do you remember? Passion Cafe. And I asked her, I said to her, "How do you get to do this?" So one of the best interviewees I've met, I've been interviewed many times. And she said to me, she said, "I just listen to what they say. And by focusing on what they are saying, I know my next question. Because I'm so focused on what they are saying, not what she wants them to say for the program, which most people are like that. It's what I want. I want people to love me. I want to think this is the best program. No, it's what can I get you have to offer to my program, because I'm interviewing you. It's not about me. Do you see this? Do you see how simple? But what makes a person successful or not? It's doing the job. She's doing the job. It's not looking for pleasure or power. At that moment, I don't know if she does otherwise, but at that moment, it's not. She got the trick. At that moment, she's become alive in her job. It becomes so rich. Because the total focus is on the person and not what I want to get out of that person. See? There's a big difference. And I thought, oh, this is a good lesson I've learned about, radio interviewers, why they're good and they're not good. So, and it's such a clear everyday example. And here it is. Don't be motivated by the fruits or become attached to inaction. Sometimes you have a job to do, but you're so scared that you get attached to not doing it. You delay it, procrastinate. Tomorrow, haven't you noticed that? You become attached to, I'm so comfortable, what should I do? Tomorrow. And you get attached to tomorrow, and you get attached to doing nothing about the situation. It's a really bad situation. And again, I think I've told this really many, many times, but I'll tell it again. It's my aunt, once she said this, she was telling me about something, complaining. She taught me another great lesson. And then she looked at me suddenly, and she said, "Nalanie, I'm going on again." And I went, "Yes." And then she goes, "I'm like this person that plays the same CD but hopes to hear another tune." And I thought, wow, that is brilliant. Can I use it in my talks? And she said, "Yes, so that's exactly what I'm doing." I said, "Exactly. I should change my CD." I said, "Yes, you got it." It was so clear. It hit her while she was talking. I was just, here we go again. There's no solution. You don't do anything about it. It's going to be the same thing again and again and again and again and again. So it was really interesting. And that's the end of that